Hello and welcome to another episode of the DRS Zone podcast. My name is Ed Wyatt. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host and F1 expert, and also my 14-year-old son, Sam Wyatt. And Sam, tonight, we are off to Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix.
We're not really off to Barcelona. We're in Melbourne here, and we would have already been back from Barcelona if we went. Yeah, I mean, it had the potential to be a good race. The chicane was removed, people were excited, and it just didn't deliver. But we will talk about that more later on.
Yeah, well, the result was pretty much the same. There were some intriguing moments, a few results, some good, some bad, a couple of surprises. But why don't you run us through the race quickly, the results, and then we'll get into some talking points.
Yes, I will. So Max Verstappen wins his third race in a row.
Yep.
Wow. But the real surprise was Mercedes finishing two and three, a very, very strong result for them. That is great for them. Hamilton was second, Russell third, Perez fourth from 11th on the grid. Carlos Sainz was fifth. He missed out his home podium. Stroll was sixth. Alonso also missed out his home podium in seventh. Ocon eighth. Joe Guan Yu ninth, who he called it his best race in Formula One.
Yeah.
Pierre Gasly was the last point scoring man in 10th. Leclerc out of the points 11th. Yuki Tsunoda 12th. Piastri 13th. De Vries 14th. Hulkenberg 15th, followed by Albon in 16th. And then in 17th, the man who started third, Lando Norris, Magnussen 18, 19, Bottas, and 20, Sargent. And for the second race in a row, I believe, every driver finished the race. Oh no, someone retired last race. But I think the race before everyone
Yeah.
finished the race.
Has been a bit of a roll
I
that way.
think
You're
it's two
absolutely
and
right.
three.
Yep. I think that's right. Red Bull continued to dominate ho hum. And Max wins, as you mentioned. And now, pretty much, I've noticed a change from last week to this week. Pretty much everyone now is admitting full out to the media, to everyone else, that Max
Max
is
is
going
gonna
to win the
win.
title.
Max is
No
gonna
one
win.
can catch
Yeah.
him. He's on 170 points. Checo's on 117. You've got Toto Wolff basically just saying Max has already won it.
And I
So
know you should never speak too soon in this, but let's be real. No one
yeah,
is gonna catch you. Let's
yeah,
be
and I
real.
think
It's
that's interesting.
Verstappen, it's Red Bull,
Yeah,
it's a boring season, nothing's gonna happen.
I think you're right, Sam. I think there's an interesting angle around this in terms of, and we were briefly talking about this while we were watching the race. We had plenty to discuss while we were watching the race. Um, are there any other sports where this happens, right? So let's look at, say, tennis or golf. You have great players, but for every Federer, you did have a Nadal, right? Or a Djokovic. So there isn't really, I can't think of another sport where there's a similar situation where you're kind of going, yeah,
Golf?
ho hum, he's going to win it again. Well, I mean, Tiger was dominant, but other guys stepped up and won. I mean, and the other thing I'd say is because golf is different, it's not a day in, day out thing with these majors. People weren't bored of Tiger.
Yeah,
People are like, can this guy do it again? Kind of thing.
yeah.
This is a thing where every week, basically, you're going
What
into it
about
knowing the
football?
same guy's going to win it.
Like City are gonna win the
Yeah.
FA Cup, the Premier League, and probably the Champions League
Yeah.
this year.
I think
And they
that's
probably they won it last year, they won it the year before.
not a bad analogy, actually, in a
But
bizarre
that's a
way.
team, and a lot of people follow them. This
Yeah.
is a single person. I mean, as good as Messi and Ronaldo were, they had each other.
Yeah.
So I think, and one thing about this sport, we've seen this with Schumacher, with
True.
Vettel, with Hamilton,
True.
now with Verstappen. We've
Yeah.
seen it before. So
I think that's a great point. I think
I
that's a
think
really good
people
point.
just think if this was the first time ever, people will be like, wow, what a season he's having. But because people that have seen the five titles in a row for Schumacher, six in a row for Hamilton, four in a row for Vettel, people just like, oh gosh, it's going to be like this for the next 3 years.
I think that's,
Even if it
yep.
won't, that's probably what they'll think.
Yep. No, I think it's a really good point. And I also think we've talked about this earlier, but the drive to survive factor of people coming on, going, and this is with friends of mine and people I work with That's unbelievable the way it ended in Abu Dhabi, the Horner versus Wolf, Max versus Lewis. This is unbelievable. They've come on board and now it's kind of been 2 years
Now it's
of ho
boring.
hum.
And the
Yeah.
problem with that is the only negative, well, not the only negative, but one negative with the Drive to Survive is it's all drama. And then those fans that come in and they don't get the most incredible race of all time
Yeah.
think, oh, this is actually not that interesting.
Yeah. It's really, really a danger sign, I think, in a
So I don't
way.
want to call them fake fans, which they kind of
No,
are,
no, they
but
aren't fake fans. They're people that came into it a different way. Will they stay? I think, and that's the real challenge, I
yeah,
think, for F1
especially
for
Americans,
yeah,
I
absolutely. I think
think.
for Liberty
And now
Media.
they've got, I think they will, because now they got three races in the US. Vegas coming, so exciting. The build up will be incredible. There'll be gambling, there'll be shots at the casino, and Max will win by half a lap. But but no, I do think they will stay.
Yeah.
And I think you can't really do anything about it. You can't like just say, that's it, starting next year we're doing equal cars or reverse grid or you can't really change it because it's
Yeah.
unfair in a sense. Like, oh, Verstappen's not as good as Hamilton. He didn't win seven titles. That's like, oh, because I was so good, they changed the rules.
Yeah.
So they can't really make a change. It's kind of an awkward situation
It
because
is.
they don't want to lose their fans, but they don't want to lose their hardcore fans either.
Yeah, they don't want
Like
to lose their fans. They
bringing
don't
in
want
the
to lose their
sprint,
fans.
they don't want to use the get rid of the hardcore fans, but then other side bringing in the sprint, you got new fans like, oh, an extra race. This is exciting.
Yep.
So it's a really weird balance, and I think if they find a happy medium, they should be they should be okay. And there's not much they can do about it.
Let's talk a little bit about Mercedes because they came in not with high expectations, and they
No,
certainly didn't expect a 2-3
two,
finish with
three.
Lewis and George Russell. They're now in second behind Red Bull, but admittedly, it's 287 points to
Yeah,
152 points. But they are clear of Aston Martin, and I
I
think
wouldn't say it was unexpected. I
well, they
mean,
weren't they weren't
they had
excited. They
upgrades
did,
coming to Imola, a track where you see a lot
yeah,
about the car, cancelled. Go to Monaco, which is a track where you see nothing about the car. Into Spain, which they even use for the tests. That's how much of a track it is, like where you can see, oh, our car's good, our car's
yeah.
not.
No,
Bringing
no.
it in on a track like Spain, it doesn't surprise me they had a good result.
I don't think they expected to be 2-3, and they didn't expect to be ahead of Alonso.
I
That's what I
guess
think.
because Russell was 13th, the fact that he went to third, I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, I
Hamilton
think
second
that's
doesn't surprise me. Looking at that grid, it doesn't surprise me. And I don't think it's really, oh, they were by far the best. Ferrari was shocking, and so were Aston Martin.
yeah,
So,
we'll get to that.
yeah, we will
The
get to that.
the positives around Mercedes, and we have to temper this by saying they were 24 seconds. Lewis was 24 seconds behind Max, right?
Yeah,
But
but that's a different sport.
the
It's a different league.
positives, the positives are that Mercedes is doing something with the car. There is a glimmer of hope there. Lewis is fired up again. Doesn't mean he's going to beat Max. He's already said that, but he's fired up about where the car can go. Talking about next year, will he be there next year? Potentially. It's very, very positive from Lewis, which is sort of, in my opinion, is great to see. And also, this continues to show, and I've been saying this for a year or so. I think George Russell is is a borderline next superstar of Formula One. I actually think, and I know you'll disagree with me, I think he's going to end up being more successful than Leclerc and Lando Norris. That's how good I think George Russell is.
No shot. No shot. He's good. He's very good. Don't get me wrong. He is a great driver. But I don't think he's going to be more successful than Leclerc and
We'll see.
Norris.
We will
As
see.
you
I
probably
think
could tell by my reaction.
I knew that would tweak you a little bit. And then this is not clickbaity thing. I do like Leclerc a lot, and I'm hoping he gets things turned around. But I just think George is sort of the complete package. He's learning from Lewis. He's owns his mistakes. He's an honest guy. He doesn't put the blame on anyone else. I just
That's
love
a
his temperament.
personality.
I love his temperament, and I think he's got that temperament for a champion driver. And I'm not saying Leclerc doesn't, but I think George is. I rate him very, very highly, and I'm really excited. I can't believe I'm saying this. If I was saying this 2 years ago, you would have laughed at me. I'm happy that Mercedes is kind of fighting back. It's
Yeah,
very funny.
I am too. I never thought like 2 years ago we're saying I'm so glad Mercedes are taking the fight to
Yeah,
Red Bull.
exactly.
No,
It's
I
very,
think
very
George
funny.
Russell is definitely a future star. He's definitely one of the future stars on the grid.
Yeah, and look, I'm
He
not.
is something special.
He may or may not be better than Leclerc in the long run, but I think he's in the neighborhood, right? He's in the
I'll
conversation.
hold you to that.
Okay, I'm happy for you. You want to go Ferrari or Aston Martin next? Let's go Aston Martin.
Neither.
Yeah.
The two
Aston
teams
Martin.
that I want to do the best.
Aston
Both
Martin,
teams had a home driver at this race, and they both terrible.
disappointing result. Stroll 6, Alonso 7. I did like the fact that Alonso at the end said, it doesn't matter if I get past Lance. I'm not going to catch signs. So let's get the team points and leave it at that. I thought that was very professional, very mature. Obviously, he can
Yeah.
afford to do it, but it's still, he didn't
And
have
it's
to do
not
that.
like he's challenging for the title though. But I do like how he did that. And especially where it's not like if they swapped around, the team's points wouldn't have changed. So
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're
yeah.
right. They've got a big challenge now. Next race is Canada. We'll talk a little bit about that, but this is Lance Stroll's
Stroll's
home
home
race,
race now.
his
Alonso
father's
then
home
Stroll.
race. Yeah, back-to-back home races. Great point.
Hey, the two teams that I like, Aston Martin and Ferrari. Ferrari have gone home race Monaco, then Spain. Aston Martin have gone home race Spain, then
Yeah,
Canada.
that's a
What
very
is
good
that
point.
about?
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? But they're going to have to get back on track because this was the first sort of disappointing, real disappointing weekend for them. Now, admittedly, they still were 6 and 7. They were both in the points, but
Yeah, well in the points.
yeah, but still a tough race for them.
Yeah.
Ferrari. All right, let's get into it. Sainz fifth. Leclerc bombed out in qualifying, ended up finishing out of the points in 11th. What do you think? I know the last 2 weeks have been you sort of bashing Ferrari. I'm not asking you to do it again, but where do they go from this point? Where do you think they're sitting?
Bad. Sad.
It's so bad you've only got one syllable words, huh? What can they do? What do they need to do? They need to figure out what's going on with this car. Like Sainz has not had
Sainz has not
terrible,
had a bad year.
he has not had terrible
He
results.
hasn't
That's
been on the
exactly right.
podium yet.
He hasn't, but he hasn't been finishing horribly. So the
We've
car,
had one podium this year. One podium.
yeah, I know.
One.
The problem is with Leclerc, though. It really is. I mean,
Bad luck.
Sainz is not embarrassing himself.
Yeah,
Leclerc,
but I don't
not,
think it's Leclerc's fault. A lot of it is bad luck.
yeah,
Qualifying, yeah, he didn't have pace, but there
yeah.
he's had been really unlucky.
Couldn't agree with you more. We have talked about that, and I agree. And I'm not blaming this at all on him, but I'm just saying when you're looking at it from a Ferrari standpoint, right? It's not okay. Both of our cars are a disaster, right? Um, Neither are great, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like this qualifying thing, not too bad. Then the race pace has been off. This past week was kind of similar. I don't think if Leclerc had qualified higher, that he would be on the podium, right? I think he might have been sixth or fifth.
Yeah.
So that's what they've kind of got to figure out. They got to go back and figure out what the heck's going on here because the car is just not up for it, is it?
I'm just in dismay every weekend.
Yeah, it's not
Same.
great. Yeah, it is kind of the same thing.
Especially
So,
after last year, we started to make improvements. Last year, we were challenging for the title, got unlucky, a couple mess ups. Our pit stops arguably were a mess.
yeah,
This year, we've fixed them. Our pits are we have the fastest pit stop of the year award currently, and everything else has turned bad. You fix one thing and 10 other things go wrong.
yeah, it's a huge,
Yeah,
huge challenge for
what's
them.
next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah, we'll move on. McLaren.
Yes,
So
yes,
McLaren,
please. Oh,
incredible
yes.
qualifying, right?
Very good.
Norris
Third, and
was Piastri eighth. I may have
Piastri
gotten
was
that
10th.
wrong. Yeah, he might have been. Yeah, but he
And
was
then he
in the
got promoted
conversation.
to ninth because of Ocon's penalty.
That's right.
So he started ninth.
But great qualifying. Everyone's excited. Zach
Third
Brown's
from
high fiving
Norris. I was
people.
excited. Yeah.
And then
I
Norris got
was.
hit on the first lap.
Yeah, he said it was a misjudgment by his part. He kind of just broke too
Yeah.
late. He thought some of the cars were not going to break, and they did break. And it's just a shame that he dropped so far down, and he really couldn't come back. He got
No.
stuck, kind of like Leclerc, in what was just a, not a traffic jam, but just wasn't going anywhere and
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere. 17th, that does hurt for them. They were starting to be on the up. Monaco was looking good for them.
Yeah.
Qualifying third after the season they had. I thought for sure they were back, and then no points to show for it.
Yeah.
That's
Very,
a
very
big shame for
disappointing.
them.
Yep.
Big shame.
Flip side, Alpine weren't phenomenal. Ocon
But
8 and Gasly 10, but it's their third consecutive double points
it
finish.
is.
So
Yes, that
consistency, right?
is. It is. And we were saying Alpine were the fastest team that were yet to show anything this year.
Yep.
And I think everyone was believing that Ocon was not having a great year. Gasly was looking faster, but he was having some bad luck and some bad races. And Australia, we thought, okay, here's their pace, running what were they, fourth or third and sixth, and then they took each other out, and then people just started to lose hope. But no, they've really brought themselves back into this.
Yep.
It's kind of weird because you've obviously got, I know Ferrari are way behind in that, but you've obviously got Red Bull, and then Mercedes, Aston Martin, and Ferrari.
Yep.
You've obviously got the top four, and then you've probably got Alpine sitting in fifth, and below them it could be anyone. But I feel like
Yeah.
no matter what happens, Alpine are going to be fifth.
Yeah. I think
So
that's I think you're
they're not
right.
going to catch Ferrari, but
No.
I don't think they're going to be caught by McLaren or
Yep.
Alpha
Yep.
Tauri or Alfa Romeo or Williams or
The
Haas. So
Yeah, well, that brings us to those bottom teams. And you did mention Zhou Guan Yu finished ninth, called his best drive in F1. It was great. Really great for him. Very happy for him.
yes, I am
Um,
too. I
but
like him. He's a good driver.
but the bottom, look, the bottom, Bottas is basically irrelevant at this point. Sargent has not delivered, in my opinion. I know he doesn't have a great car, but he's not delivering. He really
Yep.
isn't. And I love to have an American
Magnussen.
guy in there. We were a little skeptical of him, to be honest with you,
I
Sam,
thought
weren't
it was
we?
weird the fact
Yeah,
that they chose someone who literally had to get his driver's license or
yeah,
super license on the final race.
yeah. I agree. But we'll
I think,
see.
yeah,
The other flip side of that too is the other guy they mentioned. Remember talking about Colton Herta in
yes,
IndyCar, and he's not doing so
not
well. He's
not
really
doing as
struggling a little
well.
bit this year. But we'll see. We've got all
Not
sorts
looking
of
good
other.
for Williams.
Who knows next year what's going to happen? And Haas again, a big disappointment.
Kind of nowhere.
Well, Hulkenberg was qualified pretty well, but
Yeah, but
Magnussen,
they kind of
yeah,
you did not really. It's a whole jumble, which I find really odd this year. That previous years, you look at 2020, and I don't want to go back too far and be on this for too long, but 2020, you had Mercedes, Red Bull, and then you had a jumble in the midfield, which I
yes,
like. You had
yes,
Alpine, Renault,
yep,
McLaren, Ferrari, Alpha Tauri, Racing Point, and then you had the clear bottom car, which was Williams and Haas and Alfa Romeo some weekends. And then even in 2021, it's the same. A nice midfield, jumbled up battle, clear bottom cars, clear top contenders. This year, it's clear top contenders, clear midfield, and a whole jumble of the back line.
yeah,
But the thing with that is you like a whole mess up and change every weekend, but no one cares about he's 17th, now he's 11th, now he's 19th, now he's 13th. I'm sorry, unless you're a diehard fan, no one cares about those teams. So I think it does hurt that you don't have a midfield battle anymore. Because I would enjoy, and for a while Ferrari were in that battle, but I think having what 5 teams, maybe even 6 teams, I would say, that could all be lost at any given weekend is kind of just
yeah. It's a great
because it's
point,
not like
Matt.
they're going to score points.
That's a solid point. I agree 100% with that. That's very, very well said. Let's talk next week or in 2 weeks' time. And actually,
Yes.
you'll be able to watch this because you're going to be on holidays. It's the
It's at
Canadian
5
Grand
a.m.,
Prix.
isn't it?
It is Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in
I probably watch it
Montreal.
anyway. Yeah,
Last year we watched it in Colorado. Remember, we
we
were
did in
back there at a
Denver.
wedding. Max won it last year. Carlos Sainz was second. Hamilton was third. Russell
It was a
fourth.
pretty good
Leclerc fifth.
race.
Perez DNF. He had a gearbox issue on lap
Yes,
7.
after a crash in qualifying,
Yeah, the race.
Sonoda crashed on the way out of the pit lane.
That's right, he did. No race in 2020 or 2021 because of the pandemic. Last time prior to last year, Hamilton won it in 2019. He's actually
He's
won
won
it
a lot.
7
He's won a
times,
lot.
same as
7.
Michael Schumacher.
Yeah. It
It's an
was
interesting
always, yeah,
circuit.
it is.
Mercedes have already said they don't expect to do as well on this circuit as they did in Spain, so they're already a little
That's a
worried about that.
surprise.
Mm,
I'm not sure about that, and I'm just gonna say here, and I know we're not doing predictions yet, and let's not do predictions because I still have a few more things to say.
yeah, okay,
But I do think one of my bold predictions is that Mercedes deliver again because
right.
this is track is very similar to Australia, and they had a very good weekend in Australia despite
Yeah,
the 3 red flags and Russell
okay,
not finishing.
all right.
They had a very strong weekend, and it's kind of a street circuit, kind of not a street circuit.
Yep,
A similar track.
yep.
Like there are some parts where, oh, you go off the track, it's fine. There's grass, there's gravel, and some parts where, oh, you go off the track, you're in the wall. So I think they could be alright. I don't think they'll win, but
Okay.
I think giving them a little more credit than
All right.
who said that, Toto
Yeah,
or
I think you
whatever.
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think so.
I I wouldn't underestimate them.
All right. Before predictions, you say you don't want to do that now. What else you got for me?
Oh no, nothing.
Oh, that was
I
it.
was just
Okay.
saying that because unless you had anything else to
No,
say.
no. Well, I've got a few other things, but not related to Montreal. So let's make predictions. I'm going to say Max wins it. I,
Really?
I know, shocking, huh? Stunning. I'm going to say that I'm a little bit torn here. I'm thinking either Alonso or Checo. I'm just not sure who to go with. I'm going to say Checo gets back on track because he needs to. If not, they're going to start talking about who replaces him next year. So I'm going to say Checo is second. And I'm going to say Carlos Sainz comes back with the same uh, similar result to last year and gets a podium. I
All
don't
right.
know why. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez.
Okay. Yep.
I think Perez will be back on track. I
Yep.
don't think he's going to finish second.
Okay. I
And I
like it.
do think, as I said, my bold prediction, Mercedes will be there. And another bold prediction, I think McLaren will have a shocker.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
don't think they're going to have a good
Yep.
weekend. Coming off great chance to score points
Yeah, no kidding.
and not taking it, I don't think they're going to have a very strong weekend.
Few things to mention before we go. I thought the combination of Natalie Pinkham, Naomi Schiff, and Nico Rosberg was actually very, very good.
I
I
thought it was
thought
good.
I
I thought
thought
it was
he
very good.
adds a lot to that. I thought Naomi
Nico,
was
yeah,
very
I like
insightful.
Nico.
Rosberg's phenomenal, just an
Yeah,
incredible broadcaster, in my opinion. I just thought it was a
I
really
love Nico.
solid weekend for
I
Sky.
thought the grid walk was very good. Was a
Gridwalk
little
wasn't bad.
football heavy, but
Yeah, I'm not quite
not
convinced
bad. And why
Mason Mount is
Barcelona?
a
Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell,
yeah, I'm not don't think that's exactly celebrities to be honest, but anyway.
Mbappe, Neymar,
Yeah,
yes.
100% Mbappe.
Chilwell,
Yeah,
Mason Mount,
not
maybe.
not
Ben Chilwell,
Mason Mount, please give me a break. Um
are you going to
the
United?
the
No comment.
bonus of not being as crazed about the F1 race is I'm getting more excitement out of the F2 and the F3.
Me too.
I'm actually enjoying that. That's kind of making up.
Uh-huh.
Last year I didn't watch it as much. I know you did.
Oh, I watched it. It
I
was
know you did.
phenomenal last year.
But we
It
have
was phenomenal.
our friends racer Hugh Barter in the F3 has given us a little bit of an a barracking edge, a rooting edge
Yep.
in that, which has
And
been fun.
F2, Arthur Leclerc.
Arthur Leclerc, the great Art.
He's like
Um,
ninth or something in the championship. He's
yeah,
not
he's
doing
hanging in
too
there.
bad.
He's hanging in
Yeah.
there. But they're fun, a little bit more competitive. You see some mistakes.
Yep, you see some drama, but
Yeah, you do. And the only
it's
other
good
thing,
because you can like these drivers where you're like this guy could be coming up. Who's that guy?
yeah,
We know those people by watching F2 and F3, so it's good. I
absolutely.
like it.
Yep. And the final thing is an interesting one, the announcement that the Hungarian Grand Prix, I think Sky or Sky Germany maybe, they're going to do a kids broadcast, a like 9 to 14 years old broadcast, which is very interesting. It's one of those things, obviously, would be great for you at some point to be involved in that. But let's see how it goes and see what happens. But that's good. That's exciting, isn't it? That they're
No,
going to.
that's so exciting. That's great news for the sport. I mean, everyone I've talked to, like comment like Crofty and just all these people around it always say there's not enough of a next generation
Yeah.
for F1 commentators, and that's so good to have English, any country really, commentators wanting and having passion for the sport. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's really going to help the sport's future because you got millions of people who say, "Oh, I'm going to be an F1 driver," and if they don't get that, they just go, "Oh, it's fine, I'll do something else." But to after that, when I realized that I can't be an F1 driver, I thought, well, I still love the sport. I want to do something in it. So I think this is really great for Sky. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun as well. Um, that's it for me. That's it for us on the DRS Zone podcast. You can find this anywhere you get your podcasts. My name is Ed Wyatt. His name is Sam Wyatt, and we will see you after the Canadian Grand Prix.